Hello and welcome back to my corner of the internet. Let's try this for the third time. Hello and welcome to my channel. Sorry that I didn't upload last weekend. I went on a hike in the mountains and I didn't have time to film a video. So there's my excuse. I'm back again today with my September wrap-up, and if I do say so myself, I'm feeling pretty proud of myself for reading this month, because it is the most books I've read in a month, I think, in my whole entire life ever. I read 5 books this month, 4 of which were on audiobook, because if you didn't know, I was trying out a new audiobook service and I had a free trial for a month, so I made it my goal to read as many audiobooks or listen to as many audiobooks as I could, and thereby test if I am an audiobook person and whether I should continue my subscription with this service. And then I also read 1 physical book. Without further ado, let's just jump straight into it. So, the first book I read this month, or I should rather say the first book I finished this month, was Far From the Madding Crowd by Thomas Hardy. And the reason I took a very long pause there is because I started reading this book in January as a buddy read with one of my friends, the friend actually with whom I went on a hike. It really seems like my camera and the universe is conspiring against me filming this video today, because at first, I couldn't do my intro right, and then I got interrupted, and then my battery was flat, so... But anyway, we continue. I started reading Far From the Madding Crowd as part of a buddy read in January with a friend. And neither of us finished it in January. And then she just basically decided to stop reading it for personal reasons which I will not divulge. And I kind of continued reading it on my own, but very slowly, because I could not read the physical book for the life of me because it was so boring and I couldn't keep everything that was happening in my brain all at one time. So I found an audiobook on Spotify, which is basically, I don't know if it's illegal or if it's not, but anyway, and this guy who read the audiobook read it at a snail's pace. Literally, his voice sounded like this when he read the book, and I was as bored as I was when I was reading the physical copy. So I kind of gave up on it a little bit again, and then I started using this audiobook service. So I thought, what better use of my audiobook trial to finally finish Far From the Madding Crowd. When I started using the audiobook that I found on this service, I was about 30% into the book, and I finished Far From the Madding Crowd, so now I can finally say that I have read Far From the Madding Crowd. Do I think it was worth it? It only started to get interesting about halfway through the book, so if you're willing to trudge through the first half of this book to get to the part where interesting characters come into the storyline and where things actually kind of start happening, then by all means go ahead. But if not, then please don't, because it'll be like pulling a tooth. That said, I do want to read some of his other works, or specifically I want to read Tess of the D'Urbervilles. I don't really know about any of his other things. My dad is currently reading Jude the Obscure, and he has also said that he thinks that this man takes far too long to make his point. So, there's that. Not hating on Thomas Hardy, and Thomas Hardy fans, good for you. I just need a little bit more intrigue, especially from a classic, because I feel like classics are hard to read as it is, without authors taking the most long and winding road to get to where they want to be. Anyway, the next book I read was fantastic. It was I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jennette McCurdy. which is a memoir about her relationship with her mom, basically from when she started acting as a child actor because her mom wanted her to, until after her mom passed away, and how, I want to say the relationship evolved, but it didn't really. But just basically how kind of ridiculous her mother was. I don't want to give too much away because I don't want to spoil it for anybody who hasn't read it. And for anybody who has read it, you will know. You will know. I would recommend... Actually, I don't know if I would recommend listening to the audiobook because I didn't read the paperback version. But Jennette reads her own audiobook, so I think it gives it a little bit of more feeling, and you can tell how she wanted the story to be told. And there's also a part where she almost starts crying while she's reading the audiobook. So there's that. It was great. It was not my favorite memoir I've ever read, but it wasn't bad. It was definitely not bad. I really enjoyed this book. It was not my favorite memoir that I've ever read, but I really did enjoy it. I think I even gave it 5 stars, or did I give it 4 stars? I gave it 4.5 stars. So there's that. Then the next book I read was Pain Studies by Lisa Olstein, which is essentially kind of a long essay about pain and how we manage pain and how we mistreat pain and all of the things surrounding pain from the perspective of somebody who suffers with chronic migraines. And Lisa Olstein is a poet, from what they said in the description of the book. And reading this essay, or listening to this essay, you can definitely tell that it was written by a poet, because it is very flowery, very winding, and sometimes just plain confusing. And I don't really remember much from this audiobook, and it was only 3 hours long. So, would I recommend it? I don't know. It was interesting, but there were some parts where I thought, okay, this could have been left out. This is absolutely not necessary to the point of this essay. So, I don't know. Decide for yourselves whether you want to read it. I don't know that I would recommend it, but maybe it'll be interesting to somebody. So there's that. Then, the next book I read this month is definitely going to be one of my favorite books I've ever read this year. It was The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Now, listen, when they tell you that books take you on a roller coaster, this book really took me on a roller coaster, because at first I started reading this book, and then you kind of get to know this character Evelyn, and she starts talking about her past, and you know that there's going to be some shit. You know that she's done some things that you could get angry at her about, but you're willing to just wait for that to happen further down in the book. So you get attached to her, and then you listen to her story, and you get happy because good things are happening to her, and then you get mad because she's doing stupid things, and then you get happy again because more good things are happening, and then you get angry again because she sabotages herself, and then you get happy again because she unsabotages herself, and then you get sad because something sad happens, and then you get happy again because something good happens again, and then you get mad again, and then you get sad again, and then you get happy again, and then you get mad again, and then you get sad again. And then by the end of this entire roller coaster, you're left satisfied somehow. It's like going on an actual roller coaster. While you're there, you're kind of like in waiting in anticipation, and then when it starts, you're like, oh, this is fun, and then it does all the looping things, and you're like, maybe I shouldn't have come on this roller coaster. And then by the end, you're like, actually, that was really great. Maybe I should do this again. So that was probably the weirdest way anybody has ever described this book. But it was really good. Really good. I don't know what that accent was, but it was really good. And the characters were really well thought out, and they felt like real people. Like, honestly, sometimes I was imagining that these people were actually real people in my life. And then I'm like, oh wait, actually no, that's just a book that I'm reading. And then you feel a little bit confused for a while because you're like, how did I confuse fictional characters with real people in my life? So yes, great book, great characters, great storyline. Roller coaster of feelings that you go through while you're reading this book, but in the end, ultimately, I wouldn't say everything works out the way it should. Or actually, everything does work out the way it should, but it doesn't work out the way you would want it to. It didn't work out the way I wanted it to, but also I wasn't mad about how it ended. And by mad, I didn't mean like, I'm mad about this. I meant I wasn't angry at Taylor Jenkins Reid for writing the story the way that she did. So that's a good thing. I gave it a 5-star rating, if you couldn't tell already by the fact that I'm just rambling on about it to no end. So, yes, I would definitely pick this book up. I think it's really good. I understand the hype. I get why people love it so much. I understand why it is a TikTok book, and I understand why they're making it into a movie. Now, continuing on to the 5th book I read this month. Holding Up the Universe by Niven. Oh, you little book, you. I put this book on my list of books that I wanted to give away once I'm finished with them, or books that I thought I would give away once I've read them. And this is a book that I'm giving away because I have now read it. Not because it was bad, not because I thought it was not enjoyable. I did find it very predictable. I was speaking to my friend about this book when I started reading it. And I think I was about 50 pages in. And I was like, oh, I already know how the story is going to end. And lo and behold, the story went exactly how I thought it was going to go. So it was very predictable, to be honest. But it wasn't not enjoyable. It was a sweet story. The characters are nice. They are different from what you would expect from a typical American teenage high school book, you know? Which I found refreshing. But will I ever read this book again? Probably not. So I'm going to give it away to somebody else who can love it and hopefully, who can read it and hopefully love it. This is going to somebody else because I'm not going to read it again. And I also don't think I will read any of her other books. To be frank, just because I don't think I'm not in this demographic anymore. This is not the kind of stuff that I'm really enjoying reading. So, anyway, there's my 2 cents about this book. So, that was my September wrap-up. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed this long, strange, and rambly video. If you would like to stick around, you can subscribe to my channel, and if you want to see more videos from me, there's a whole back catalogue that you can go watch, and you can wait until next week when I will post another new video. But that's all from me. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I shall see you again next week with another video. Bye.
Nee, check.
Vriend, het wordt zijn vriendin. Vol.
Kom! Strong independent woman.
Buis mooi.